Hello everyone, this is Ether Dragon, and welcome back to another episode of Fire Emblem Heroes. So, just to be sure, so we don't pull last season's shenanigans again, we're recording a bit early, but I still don't have my final potential lift loss for the season, so might have to record towards the end of the season again if any replays show up. But without further ado, let's get started. So of course this week was the first week with Nott being a thing. Of course people were summoning for her and definitely saw plenty of her on defense. You got a snapshot of some of the shenanigans I faced this season, but I didn't record some of them because a lot of them boiled down to utilizing Bolt Tower, and it was not as interesting as the other ones. But here they decide to just hit end turn with Fallen Edelgard, because why not? And so Bramon's going to attack here with Luna, and of course, it's actually kind of surprising that Fallen Edelgard is barely able to one-shot Bramon without a special, which is interesting. But this week, we just had a meme layout. There's even more things wrong with this layout than I think it was 2 seasons ago? I don't remember. But yeah. She's just spamming out bonfires, and because she's running Mystic Boost, and there's what is it called? Twin Press Power. She's able to heal 13 points of HP after every combat, and of course with Dominance she's going to do a lot of damage. This was a very meme layout to start, and then very quickly you'll see the defense changes a tiny bit. But at this point it's already GG, it's not like we're going to be doing anything funny here. I decided to make the defense really bad this week and have some real gaping issues, but I'll leave it to the viewer to figure out what those were as we go through the replays, because the final layout I think starts in the next replay. But it's pretty expected. Fallen Edelgard just cleaning up here pretty easily, and GG. Okay, maybe not this replay. It might be the third replay. But this week I decided to start off the season with Sirius on Sothis. Obviously that doesn't do anything here. But we're trying out Lilina of AoE. Not very good because we're running Life and Death on her, which means not so great things. But the important thing to note here is that they're not running a bonus structure. AKA, I believe, is it Bright Shrine this week or is that next week? I don't remember. So they decide to take out Sothis super quickly. Not sure what the rush is, because it's not like things are going to change if they do that, but they decide to just use their duo skill and kind of run away, and they leave Bride Fjorm there, and anyone who's familiar with this defense already knows probably not a great spot to be in. So Bramon's going to one-shot Peony by a mile, and well, as we saw this week, Bramon was definitely annoying, but when he doesn't have lull, it's so much easier because lull attack res helps him do more damage, and it also helps him take less damage. But of course his low HP means he's a pretty easy sweep for Dual Lin, just attacking twice, proccing a special. But unfortunately for Dual Lin, she also kind of has no bulk against AoE, so it's just easy cleanup. And the problem is, because we're running Blazing Flame, Lilina just kind of reduced all of their HP to 1, and even took out Bride Fjorm, who was in range of Healing Tower. So they have 2 1 HP units, now 1 11 HP unit against Seliph. Yeah, not gonna be a great time. Nope, not this replay yet. I don't actually know then. When did we start doing our, when did we change the defense? I don't know. It's probably the next replay. Says me at the start of each replay. But it's a pretty stacked team here. Fallen Edelgard and Brave Edelgard running attack, defense, near save. Seems pretty solid. Of course, the idea is they can use Micaiah to tank ranged units, and melee units have to attack into Brave Edelgard. Don't exactly like Brave Edelgard for near save or far save, but that's just my opinion. Because having no damage reduction on the first hit is pretty bad. And speaking of no damage reduction on the first hits, we have the exact opposite. Fallen Edelgard has damage reduction on the first hit, but this plus 10 Fallen Edelgard with double solos does not have enough bulk to survive a one round from Bramond, or enough, whatchamacallit, or enough attack to one-shot him. So unfortunately, Bramond's 4 attack short from taking out Peony. So happens when you're no longer in push range. That's why I would probably just run Sturdy Impact on him, because most of the time people don't really player phase my units. It tends to be more along the lines of enemy phasing. So Bramamon is much better with Impact in such an instance. Because especially against low attack res, and if you don't have a super high attack stat, it can be very difficult to one-shot Bramamon without any chip damage. Here they have their near save Brave Edelgard in range to protect Micaiah and Peony from the likes of Seliph and company. And Seliph can't quite heal up because he's out of range of Healing Tower, but you can probably imagine things might have not gone particularly well for Brave Edelgard if Seliph could actually attack more than a few times. Because the thing with 2 cooldown Ignis against Brave Edelgard is that the Ignis goes off on the second hit, which is not ideal, but it still chunks quite a bit of damage. But with that, pretty straightforward win there, but Fallen Edelgard could not survive Bramamond. Alright, here's the new meat. This is what we stick with for the rest of the week. Everything's intentional, and I think you should probably realize what's going to happen pretty quickly here. Very simple team, and well, we got our merges, you know, and Nott is super nice for buffing defense, so Seliph can get like 52 defense, which is finally getting to a decent place. It's still not great, but Nott here just running base kit, drive attack, and Luna, because we have triple infantry pulse for turn 1 Luna, and we decided to go with Miracle on Sothis again, but it's not fully charged, so you'll see it doesn't really do too much as long as it's not fully charged. But one thing that's wrong with this defense is I intentionally have this heavy trap to be not the real one. The real one is actually the one that Nils stands on to make the defense even worse. I decided to do this Pathfinder thing with Nils just so people, if they want to, they have the option of sniping down Nils. But if you don't leave correctly, you can get one of your units sniped down, but if you isolate Sylvia, then it's even more trivial. But they're just going to use Dominance here and hit end turn, and well, I mean, what do you expect? This entire team does not have Vantage, any check to Vantage, other than if they can survive, which obviously is never going to happen. So, you know, at 10 HP, you can see Winter Altina is definitely in danger of getting murdered if, you know, anyone could actually attack. But of course, no one can attack because of Vantage. So it's just a super straightforward clear. It's completely intentional for me to not run any hardy burying or turn 1 miracle with high HP memes. It's all intentional. I just wanted to see how many folks would bring Vantage this week, because it is falling off quite a bit. Vantage, that is. Not a lot of people like using it. And here we have Sothis moving first. The problem with having Nott in the 7th slot is that she kinda moves last. If everyone out of all the melee units with no assists, unless of course she's ahead of everyone, then sure. But here, Sothis, you know, in classic Sothis fashion, is going to miss the kill because Altina does have pretty competent res, but she does survive with Miracle, not that it actually matters. And well, Sothis was really just here this week for her usual +2 merges, so she could reduce my lift loss. she does not do very much, let's put it that way. Here they start to activate the bolt trap, and if it was real, like it was here, like you know, they get the chip damage, pretty easy kill. If it wasn't, you know, they could have just ran away because Nils is way too far away to possibly catch them, and so they could have brought their other units to help out. But yeah, not necessary there because we have our bolt trap in a very jank location, also on purpose. It's such a meme location. But with that, GG. And well, of course, it wouldn't be one of my jank defenses without a bunch of duo hero spam and whatnot, and it's pretty heavily merged dual Lin, almost maxed out. Same for Young Azura there, and Air +10. Don't even need to run seals here. And so they get set up by taking out the catapult so they can retain their bolt tower, which is very useful for them because that will allow them to take out Seliph much easier. Because chipping down with bolt tower is probably one of the most broken parts of Ether raids. Some units can still survive even when they're chipped for 45, but you have to do quite a bit. And while Seliph in Seliph fashion is always just going to miss the one shot, with HP inflation, especially with Dagger, there's not very much you can do in that respect. So they're going to take out Sylvia here. Kind of an interesting choice. Not sure why you would take out Sylvia because she's not really one of the larger threats. But, you know, whatever works. They use their duo skills and they just keep attacking here. And well, I think you might be able to see the problem here. They use more duo skills as if you couldn't use any more. The problem is they can't quite take out everyone. They don't have enough actions. Funny enough to say that. They don't have enough actions. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like they could have done this a little better because there's a small problem with Dual Lin at 8 HP is that her bulk is slightly a little too low. And Nils even gets Frost Breath, so it's a proc for the -4 to all stats even. So Dual Lin goes down, and it kind of feels like they could have had a better clean sweep. But of course, Vantage on Seliph was the real kicker. As long as Seliph's there with Deflect Missile, you have to be concerned about utilizing your Bolt Tower well. But also, I intentionally have it so it is possible to snipe the catapult turn 1, although I did make it a bit more difficult compared to previous weeks. But anyways, moving on to the next one. And here we have an interesting team here. Got ourselves a male Morgan carry, because of course his Refine is pretty strong if you can get tons of debuffs on the enemy. Grima's Truth definitely can be quite devastating for enemy units who are too debuffed. And here we are with our meme Sothis 1 cooldown miracle. Not actually doing too much there, but they are isolating Nils, so Nils doesn't actually get to dance Nott in meme fashion. So they're just gonna hit end turn with Male Morgan, who's unable to double Sothis, presumably because she's not debuffed enough. And he doesn't one-shot, and he wouldn't have anyways with Miracle up. So there's AoE from Lilina, and well, Morgan's rip. The main problem here was they kind of put their units adjacent to each other, and we have this skill called Sudden Panic that is finally remotely consistent with 77 HP thanks to Nott. So, and we also have 73 HP even pulse tie, which is super nice. Definitely much more consistent than 68, that I'll say for sure. And well, Sothis, we're running Vantage just because she's not really gonna do much more. She gets doubled a lot. And this male Corrin takes out Sothis. Miracle doesn't do too much here. And also takes out Lilina, but the problem is we still have some big hard hitters still left on the team. One of them being Bramamond. Good old Bramamond. Kinda, we'll see, but it turns out that, you know, the legendary banner for this month is dropping literally the last day of the month. And I happen to be quite busy for around that week-ish. So I think we're actually gonna have to summon like July 5th or something around there. Which is going to be, means we get quite a few more orbs because there are back-to-back Tempest Trials and whatnot, but on that banner there is going to be Bramamond on colorless, so we currently have him at +8, maybe we can +10 him off that banner, but our main focus is red, of course. Because I kinda want to score slightly better during Astra season, that would be nice. The real reason of getting Plumeria, though, like I've mentioned in previous episodes, many episodes ago, is purely just for the option to use a dancer with Blessing Abuse regardless of the season, but one recurring theme that's happening nowadays is we just don't have enough shenanigans. Let's put it that we don't have enough shenanigans during wind or fire season because, well, we don't have any. So, kind of a small problem there. Well, Guinevere is going to attack Nils, and while Nils doesn't really have that much bulk, he does have a bit of HP, which means Guinevere can't kill, and they actually decide to go just dance and attack yet again. So they decide to hit end turn here, because currently as is, only res attacking units can attack Guinevere, but Bramamond's got Luna up, and so we have a small problem called Guinevere having a large res stat, and he just gets one shot there, and Nott gets to break the wall, and that lets Bramamond attack, but Bramamond's unable to double morph because, well, no follow-up. So, and we're running Death Blow, trying to maximize attack. I was thinking about Blade Session, but I figured a lot of the times Bramamond's going to attack first, so Blade Session sounds terrible, but we might do it in the future for the memes, because Bramamond with more speed honestly isn't terrible, but that's only player phase speed, so it's kinda eh. And well, here, Lilina against Hector. Hector's unable to quite one-shot Lilina here, but he's able to pick up the kill with Bonfire. Definitely not a rip. And well, Selith moves first, and that's just gonna give Brave Hector a free heal, pretty much. But again, the recurring problem here is that Brave Hector is only able to heal 6 HP with Mystic Boost every time, so that becomes a problem because Nott still has her Luna going. She has attack speed menace, and of course her weapon has bonus doubler and whatnot. So they decide to hit end turn like this with Hector, but against Luna, it's going to be way too much damage. And with that, of course, they can win the match at this point, but they can probably get a better result, and for that reason, they surrender. So, ripperoonies. And while we have this team, finally, it's been a super long time since we've seen it, but what is a Pulse Smoke? Finally, we run into a unit with Pulse Smoke again, and this is just a Brunya with bonus doubler, stack stats with quad mythics, and should be a pretty comfortable win. Because of course, with null follow-up, Self of course doesn't get his guaranteed follow-up attack, and a lot of our specials are just gonna go poof because Pulse Smoke out of 10. They wait for Bolt Tower damage here, and they go ahead and take out Bramamond cleanly without taking any damage here. And well, it's bonus doubler and stuff at this point, so relatively straightforward for Brunya to tank everything. Lots of stats going around, and of course Self can just keep attacking, but he's not really going to do too much damage here. Pulse Smoke doesn't help, and well, Luna is too slow to double Peony, but even if she could, she wouldn't be killing anyways, so it doesn't matter. But Peony using Glimmer is kind of interesting because her base attack is not too high, but it works. It's not like Moonbow does that much better, I'm gonna be real. And at this point, it's basically GG. They're just cleaning up enemy units here so they don't have to worry about possible enemy units sniping down their allies, because we're most likely never really killing Brunya except if Nott gets a ton of attacks in, and obviously that's not going to happen. And so Sylvia goes down, and now we're just left with these guys. We even bait out Nils here with Dagger. And you can see there, Nott would need quite a few hits to take out Brunya. He's not doubling. Solif actually doing a little bit more damage. But of course they have Nils isolated, so he's just going to get murdered by Dagger here. Yeah, definitely like the plus HP Nils I'm using. Definitely better than neutral. Like, 2 cooldown Ignis on Self is funny, but it's just not good enough because it's not pre-charged. But it's like, are we really going to try and give him a pre-charged Ignis when he's basically at the top of the infantry pulse ladder, but he's actually 3rd from the top, which is kind of ridiculous. That's what happens when you creep HP by single points though. And while we have Dagger versus Nott, I haven't watched this replay, so let's see if they use Dagger to take out Nott. Looks like not. Haha. And well, just a clean sweep. Pretty straightforward. And for now, this looks like to be our last replay for now. I'm expecting at least one more since this is only, I think, the 9th replay of the week. But here we have another stacked team. You know, just a few plus 10s here, don't mind. Don't mind that. Running attack res ideal here over attack defense ideal, because her res can definitely be an issue. So it's definitely good to boost it up. Of course that means then you have less defense, but there's always going to be a trade-off of sorts. But here they're just getting ready to go in for the attack. And they decide to make this particular play here. They just dance Fallen Edelgard and initiate into Seliph, which if the heavy trap was real, that could have gotten really awkward. But of course, because we're memeing this week, if I were more serious about making the defense like 1% better, we would have made this the real heavy trap, because this one being real is basically worthless, not gonna lie. But of course, with her kind of stance, probably would have survived. It actually would have been close, but because of not just hitting end turn, Nils would have just wasted his dance. So I'm pretty certain Fallen Edelgard would have just survived regardless, but she would take quite a bit of damage from, say, Bramamond. But to make sure that doesn't happen, they take him out. And so they just hit end turn here. And, well, Sylvia actually survives just because she has a ton of HP. So that gets rid of the damage reduction, but of course, everyone's not really going to be doing too much damage in general, because, well, this defense is pretty meme. And Lilna just cannot pick up the kill with AoE because, again, we have a pretty sad build on Lilna. Not a very good build. And we're running Sothis over Bramamon, so her attack's a bit lower, but you might argue, you know, with more res, then you can dodge sabotage attack more, but not really. And of course, Sothis is not going to be doing that much damage because, well, what would you expect out of Sothis, Kappa? She's definitely a threat to Nino when she's bonus, and when she's max invested, even when she's not bonus, she can be an issue for Nino, especially with Lol, because Lol out of 10. But here, Fallen Edelgard barely makes it out alive at 6 HP, but it doesn't matter because she survived. And it's not like our dancers are actually going to pick up the kill or anything, so it's just a sweep from here. And GG. Not much to say there. We do end up facing a lot of plus 10 units when we rush climb, but we had a pretty terrible offense this week. Still ended up clinching tier 39. Still waiting on our potentially last defense results for the week. If we do lose lift, there is a very high chance we may fall out of top 1k, but I can't really be bothered to care when we had a pretty garbo offense. Lots of mistakes made, lots of lessons learned though, and overall not too shabby. Definitely going to remember a lot more about Pathfinder going forward. Lots of things to learn in this game at the very high end of things. But as you can see, unfortunately, too many people decided to do Resident Battles this week. So we're only staying in interval 20, but that's better than the typical dropping back down to interval 19. And I think it's because the only harmonized hero between these two bonus seasons is Catria, the new Catria, who's super devastating in Ether raids when used correctly. Even more devastating in Pawns of Loki, if you know what I mean. Pawns of Loki, Catria is something. And while Arena Assaults, it's Wind and Fire, the only week where we can't, only pair of seasons where we can't abuse blessings. And we got a pretty decent score considering how the matchmaker typically memes us, but it's not enough for top 1k. Which means down the line, if we want to be consistent top 1k in Arena Assault, we definitely need to plus 10 at least one legendary hero from either Wind or Fire. Still haven't decided, but I'm pretty biased towards Wind because I still have not found anything particularly appealing out of Fire. But overall, everything's pretty chill. Orb count is still climbing. We'll see how high it goes, but considering we'll be summoning while the July Tempest trials already started, you know, we'll probably be close to like 2,500 orbs, maybe even more, 2.5k. But anyways, we'll be back when the results drop in. Alright, surely everything's out by now, and looks like at the end of the season didn't look like we got any more replays, so it definitely looks like that's the case, or if we did, we didn't lose any lift from it, but there's no way for us to know. But all in all, we're not staying this upcoming season, so we're just going to be goofballing. I don't know what we're planning to do. Defense, I think we're just gonna keep the same and get rolled. And occasionally meme people who don't quite execute correctly. But first time in a while is free to play staying in tier 20 resonant battles. That's not going to be a common occurrence once more and more harmonized heroes start showing up. But that is our 100th arena crown. We'll go to inventory to look at it. And a bit outside top 1k, but that's expected nowadays. Now that fire and wind season are both, mostly wind season is much stronger. But there you go, 100 crowns. I guess we have an interesting amount of trait fruits as well. Orb count is slowly on the rise, and we have no ether stones and way too much heavenly dew. As you can only use them to upgrade offense structures, and let's just say we don't do a lot of that. And we're on our meme conquest to max out all the crystals here. I've never used a single one of these crystals, and I've been playing since basically launch, so we're almost there, Kappa. Same for, you know, Light's Blessings. We're almost at 999,999, no big deal. But anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks for watching. As always, this is Ether Dragon, and hope to see you all next time. Bye!